welcome. Today I'm going to be talking all about my Holy Grail eye brushes. So a few months back I did a video on my Holy Grail face brushes, and now I'm finally getting to do my Holy Grail eye brushes. So I have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, I think 12 brushes to talk about today. So let's just get right into it. I'm going to start with 4 Refer brushes. These are essential brushes for me. I use them all the time. They're the number 1, the number 2, the number 3, and the number 21. So the number 1 is a perfect kind of fluffy crease brush, but it's not too big. So even if you have small eyes, I have fairly small eyes, and they're hooded, and this brush is just amazing. It's undyed goat hair, so it works great with both powders and with creams. And actually the number 1 and the number 2, I have a little glass full of brushes in my bathroom that I use for my like really everyday makeup. And then I have other brushes out on my vanity, which are used for kind of more complex makeup looks when I'm really sitting down and doing a full-on look, or I want to be, you know, more precise and more careful with my looks. But these 2 are in my everyday glass in the bathroom, and I do use them every day. They're great for just like if you want to throw on a little bit of bronzer or blush onto your lids. You can get right into the crease with these. Number 2 is great for going on the lower lash line because it's more tapered and narrow at the tip, and you can also use this for a really kind of imprecise liner, or just adding a little bit of depth at the lash line. And one of the reasons I also really love these is that they work great for creams as well. So these are my go-to cream product brushes. I actually did this whole eye look mainly using these 2 brushes. I threw in a liner brush as well. I like to use the number 2 to pick up my cream eyeshadow and place that on and do most of the blending, and then I can just blend out the edges with the number 1, and it makes super quick and easy work of that. And then I use this also for my lower lash line. I used a powder shadow on my lower lash line today. If you wanted to see a tutorial of this look, it's already up. It's my monochromatic cranberry look, so I'll link that so you can check that out if you haven't seen it and you wanted to know how to do this look. But yeah, these brushes are just really good. They're really sturdy, and they do exactly what I want them to do. The number 3 is, again, this can be used for kind of smudging out a liner or doing a kind of thick, kind of diffuse liner. But this is especially good, and what I use it for most is for inner corner. It's the perfect size to get into the inner corner, but it's still kind of fluffy enough that it allows you to like blend out the product and diffuse it as well, and allows you to pull a little bit of the inner corner color. I like to usually pull a little bit of it along my lower lash line and a little bit up onto the lid too, and this brush just makes super quick and easy work of that. Now the 21 brush, this is a perfect flat shader brush. So this is kind of the skinniest, flattish shader brush that I have. And so this is perfect for applying metallics or like glittery shadows onto the lid. And it's small and precise enough that you can get actually right into this area here, which I'll show you another shader brush, which is a little bit thicker, but it doesn't work for getting into this area. So this brush is really great for doing this area as well as all over the lid. You can really pack on the product, and you still have the ability, again, to just kind of blend around the edges if you wanted to use this brush for that too. Great for the lower lash line. It's a little bit thinner at the tip than the Refer 02, so if you wanted a less diffused and kind of more precise application of color on the lower lash line, or even if you were just adding a little bit right there, you want to be a little bit more precise about it, this brush is perfect for it. All of these brushes are really soft and don't irritate my eyes at all, I should mention that. So now I wanted to move into a couple of Sonia G brushes. I think I'll have a couple more to talk about after this, but these relate to the Refer 01 and not really the 02, but they relate to the Refer 01. So here's the 01 next to these. This is the classic crease, and this is the mini booster from Sonia G. These brushes are essentially the same shape, but they're just different sizes. So the classic crease it's your classic crease brush. It performs a pretty similar function to the Refer 01, but the Refer 01 has a pinched ferrule, while the Classic Crease has a rounded ferrule. So it's just a little bit fluffier and it's gonna give you a little bit more of a diffused application. This is also dyed goat hair. So I find that dyed goat hair bristles are a little bit silkier and softer than the undyed, and they're a little bit better for powder eyeshadows that you find are a little bit more pigmented. So the undyed is a little bit coarser, so it's better at picking up product. So that makes it really great for powder eyeshadows that are, you know, maybe a little bit more hard pressed in the pan or a little bit more lightly pigmented. This one is great for even the shadows that are the most pigmented because it's so soft and can really diffuse really well. And then the mini booster, as I said, it's basically the same brush as the Classic Crease, just smaller. And so that makes it great for smaller eyes as well as hooded eyes and just a little bit more precise application. So sometimes you don't want that color blown out all over your whole crease and going down into the lid. And for those times, that's when you want to use the mini booster. I also like to use this after the Classic Crease if I wanted to add just a little bit more depth and shadow in a little bit more of a precise way, but still be able to blend it out really nicely. This is still really nice and fluffy, just smaller and therefore a little bit more precise. This can also be used for the lower lash line, although for me, I do find it a little bit big for the lower lash line. If you have maybe bigger eyes or you can handle more shadow underneath the eyes, this could work underneath the eyes as well. Now another Sonia G brush, and this is the thicker shader brush that I mentioned when I was talking about the Refer 21. This is the Sonia G, what's it called? Soft shader. I use this all the time for applying metallics and shimmers and glitters to the lid, but it's a little bit thicker, as I mentioned, than that Refer one, so I don't use it so much to get into this area. You can get into this area with it, but you have to kind of use the tip, and that's not going to allow you to get that pigment really packed on as well, because by nature of using the tip, it's just going to be a little bit more fluffy and diffuse of an application. But this I find picks up more product and again is better at picking up those kind of harder pressed products than the 21 brush, just because it's thicker, it has more density, and therefore there's the ability for more product and pigment to really get into those. And also because it's undyed goat hair and it's that little bit of a coarser fiber, still really soft, but it's just a little bit coarser, and so it's able to pick up, you know, even something like the Pat McGrath baked shadows. This is really great at picking those up, and you can pat onto the lid, and it also has that versatility to be able to blend out the edges at the same time. This works great on the lower lash line. It's tapered enough for me to use on the lower lash line. And it's just a really great versatile brush. It could also be used as a crease brush if you were in a pinch. It works great for that. If you just wanted one Sonia G eye brush, this would probably be the one I'd recommend, because you have the ability to do so many different things with this brush. And as I said, you can, you know, blend out your crease, you can do the main blending with that and the main application of the crease color with that, but it also has the point that you can be more precise with it and just kind of use it in a different way rather than doing like a swirling buffing motion. You could put, if you wanted to add your shadow and kind of depth into the crease, you could just put the product right on there, and then you can kind of use it to draw the product on. And then if you need to blend around the edges, you can do that as well. So this is a really great versatile brush. Now I wanted to talk about a couple of Wayne Goss brushes. These are from his Edit series that came out earlier this year. And this is the number 6 and the number 7. These are again undyed goat hair, and they're just so good. I don't have any other brushes that are shaped like that. You can see they have a rounded ferrule and they come to a bit of a point. This one, because it has longer bristles, is going to give you a little bit of a fluffier, diffused application, but can still be so nice and precise. And this is really great for deepening up and adding a little bit of definition into the crease, kind of like the mini booster, but this one you can see is much more pointed, and so you're going to be able to be much more precise with it. But again, it has those longer bristles, so it has a nice movement to it that you can blend if you need to do that as well. And this is another one that is excellent for the lower lash line. And then the number 7 is, again, we have another situation where it's basically the same brush, but just smaller. So the bristles are a little bit shorter in this one, which means it's a little bit less flexible, so you can be more precise with it. You can use this for blending out liner. You can use this for adding a kind of defined line if you wanted to just take a really dark pigment and have a really precise but still like blended look with a certain color. This is perfect for that. And this again works great for the lower lash line and actually works really well on the inner corner as well. So that's the 06 and the 07 from the Wayne Goss Edit series. There's 3 brushes left and we're getting into the really small brushes. So this is actually a Morphe brush. This is one of the first eye brushes I ever bought when I kind of really started getting into makeup. It's the M213. And it's this tiny, tiny, tiny little shader brush. It's really thin and really small. This is excellent for the inner corner. If you need to be more precise with your inner corner application than with like the Rephr 03, for example, and especially if you're using a really shiny, shimmery, glittery shadow, this will pick it up really nicely and will allow you to just pat it on. Because it's flat, it's really good at just patting on the product. And especially, as I said, with those kind of shimmery, glittery shades, it's really nice. You can also use it for liner as well. This is the Sonia G Flat Definer, another great one. It's kind of similar to that Morphe one, but if you look at them side by side, you can see this one is actually way bigger. It's thicker and it's just, the bristles are longer. But this, again, works really great for the inner corner. This is excellent for blending out liner. That's kind of my favorite use for it, is if I use like something like the Victoria Beckham Satin Kajal liner on my lash line. This blends it out so nicely. It just softens the line and pulls the product all the way along, gives you the ability to kind of blend it up a little bit if you wanted to add a little bit of shading right there, but it's not so big that it's really going to diffuse everything. It's not as fluffy as any of the other brushes that I might use to do my liner blending, like the Wayne Goss 07. It's a little bit fluffy, so you have to be willing to get a bit of a more diffused application. And it's a little bit more flexible than the Rephr 03, which is another one you can use to blend out your liner, but it's quite stiff. It's not that flexible. This one just has a little bit more flexibility and wiggle room in there, and that makes it really enjoyable and effective for blending out liner. It also is really excellent on the lower lash line. If you didn't want as kind of thick of a lower lash line or diffused of a lower lash line as you would get with the Rephr 02, this one can be more precise, but again, still has that flexibility to really blend out very nicely. And then the last one I wanted to mention, I actually don't use this that often because I'm not usually going for like a really precise winged liner. But if I am, this is the brush that I would use. This is the Sigma Small Angle E65. And again, it has a little bit of flexibility, but it's stiff enough that you're going to be able to get a nice crisp liner with that. It has a really nice thin top to it. And this, I actually used this a lot more before I was using Kajal liners. I used to just do like usually a dark powder eyeshadow for my liner, and this brush I would use every day when I was doing that because it allows you to pick up enough of that powder product and place it really precisely, but again, still be able to kind of drag it along really softly and blend as you go along. It's the Sigma E65 Small Angle Liner. So those are all my Holy Grail eye brushes. I'd love to hear what some of your favorite eye brushes are, but I hope this was helpful for you or interesting if you were looking at building up your eye brush collection. These are my favorites and the brushes that I rely on every day for all different types of looks. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know also if you have any questions or comments below. I always love to see them. And if you'd like to see more from me and you haven't subscribed to my channel already, I'd love for you to do so. Thanks again so much. Take care, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.